February 18th, 2001, 8:05 p.m., Foxstone Park, Virginia. A man kneels by a wooden footbridge, taping a package beneath it. Seconds later, headlights, car doors. He is surrounded. His name is Robert Hanssen. For 22 years, he worked inside the FBI. For 15 of those years, he was selling America's secrets to Moscow. Tonight, his own agency finally closes in. The FBI didn't stumble onto Hanssen by accident. They built a task force specifically to find a mole inside their own walls. For years, they suspected the wrong man entirely. A CIA officer, investigated, harassed, cleared. The real traitor sat 2 floors above the search, reviewing the very files meant to expose him. Robert Hanssen wasn't some outsider who slipped through the cracks. He was FBI counterintelligence himself. His job was to catch Soviet spies. Instead, starting in 1979, he became one, selling satellite programs, nuclear war plans, and the identities of American assets to the KGB, then its successor, the SVR. Hanssen never met his handlers face to face. No coffee shops, no whispered exchanges. He used dead drops, a package under a bridge, a chalk mark on a mailbox, a piece of tape on a signpost. Simple signals, anonymous. For 15 years, it worked. The FBI's own tradecraft training had taught him exactly how not to get caught. By the late 1990s, the FBI knew something was badly wrong. Multiple Soviet assets had vanished, arrested, executed, gone silent. The pattern pointed to one conclusion. Someone on the inside was talking. A dedicated team was assembled. Their target had a code name. Their suspect list included nearly everyone with access. Except at first, Hanssen himself. That's the promise this story keeps. How do you find a traitor inside the very organization built to catch traitors? The FBI turned its search inward, running its own agents through the same suspicion it aimed at foreign spies. Every badge became a question mark. Every desk, a potential crime scene. Hanssen sat in plain sight, filing reports on the search for himself. The break didn't come from a wiretap or an informant. It came from a price tag. In 2000, the FBI paid a former KGB officer millions of dollars for a single file, an actual audio recording and paperwork tied directly to the mole. No name was written on it, but a voice was, and that voice belonged to someone inside FBI headquarters. Analysts scrubbed the recording for hours, cross-referencing it against voice prints of agents who'd had access to the compromised programs. Fingerprints on decades-old documents were tested again with new forensic technology. Slowly, the circle of suspects narrowed from hundreds to dozens to one name investigators hadn't seriously considered before: Robert Hanssen. If you're new here, this channel breaks down the biggest cybercrime and espionage cases in history, the ones that expose how easily trust can be weaponized from the inside. Subscribe now, because what happens next, the FBI setting a trap for one of its own agents, is one of the strangest operations in Bureau history. The FBI couldn't just arrest Hanssen on a hunch. They needed him caught in the act. So they built an elaborate cover story, a fake promotion, a new office, a job that sounded like a reward, but was actually a cage. He was moved close to headquarters, watched every hour of every day, his phone lines and computer silently monitored. Investigators searched his government car and found a device disguised as ordinary electronics, later identified as a tool for encrypted communication with Moscow. They combed his home trash. They tracked bank deposits that didn't match his FBI salary. Piece by piece, the case built itself, but they still needed him at the drop site, package in hand. On February 18th, 2001, Hanssen was told to deliver classified documents for a signing. It was a lie. He drove instead to Foxstone Park, taped a package beneath the footbridge, and turned to walk away. That's when the surveillance teams closed in, the same moment this story began. This time there was no escape. The final tally was staggering. Over his career, Hanssen had handed Moscow the identities of at least 3 Soviet double agents, 2 of whom were executed. He exposed America's most sensitive nuclear response plans and compromised a secret tunnel built beneath the Soviet embassy in Washington. In exchange, he'd been paid over $1.4 million in cash and diamonds. In court, Hanssen pled guilty to 15 counts of espionage. He avoided the death penalty by cooperating, detailing exactly what he'd handed over and how. He was sentenced to life in prison without parole, sent to the most secure federal supermax facility in America, the same one that holds terrorists and cartel bosses. What makes this case so unsettling isn't just the betrayal, it's the mirror. Hanssen spent his career studying how spies think, how they hide, how they slip past detection, and he used every lesson to hide himself. The hunter had simply been hunting his own reflection the entire time, and almost no one noticed. Back at Foxstone Park, the package is gone now. The bridge unremarkable, just another crossing in a quiet Virginia woods. But somewhere in every institution built on trust, the same question waits. If the man hunting the traitor can be the traitor, how do you ever know who's really watching your back? Subscribe for the next case.